Hi, everyone, this is the Encyclopedia Channel. We all know that whales are huge marine animals that dominate the ocean. But have you seen any news or information about whale explosions? Do you know why there is a saying that when a whale falls, everything is born? After watching this episode, you can get the answers. Whales don't explode. Whales are mammals with a body structure and physiology highly adapted to the aquatic environment. Instead of exploding, sometimes, when a whale dies and floats at the surface, gas builds up in its body and causes its abdomen to swell. This is due to the gases produced by the bacteria as they break down the whale's tissues. Bloated whales may look like they explode, but are actually caused by the release of gases built up inside the whale carcass. This phenomenon is a relatively rare but interesting one. In order to better understand this process, we need to explain in detail the anatomical structure of the whale, the decay of the carcass, and the process of gas production and release. First, let's take a look at the anatomy of a whale. Whales are mammals with some special adaptations inside their bodies. One of them is their digestive system. Whales have relatively large digestive systems, especially their stomachs. This is because whales need to digest and absorb large amounts of food to meet the energy demands of their large size. When a whale dies, its body begins to undergo a process of decay. Spoilage is caused by the decomposition action of microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi. These microbes break down organic matter in the whale, including proteins and fats. During this process, the bacteria produce gases as metabolites. The most dominant gases in whales are methane and carbon dioxide. These gases are normally produced in living whales and expelled through the respiratory system. However, when a whale dies, the exit route for the gas is cut off, causing the gas to build up in the whale. Over time, the putrefactive bacteria continued to break down the whale's tissue and produce more gas. These gases accumulate in closed cavities in the whale's body, such as the stomach or intestines. Since the body of a whale is quite solid, when the internal pressure increases to a certain level, the gas cannot escape freely. This leads to an interesting phenomenon. When the whale carcass floats on the surface, the internal gas gradually builds up and looks for an outlet to escape. The most common exits are the whale's mouth and anus. When the gases inside find their way at these outlets, they are released quickly and with considerable pressure, causing a jet-like phenomenon. This process of gas release is often referred to as whale explosion. However, this so-called whale explosion is not an actual explosion, but the result of a gas release. When the gases inside are released rapidly at high pressure, they can create noise and jet effects that give the illusion of an explosion. This phenomenon is most commonly seen with some large-toothed whales, especially humpbacks. Humpback whales are large-toothed whales whose carcasses produce large amounts of gas as they decay. Because the digestive system of humpback whales is relatively large, gases produced during the decay process can build up in their bodies, increasing the pressure. When the pressure of the gas exceeds the capacity of the channel, they will be released quickly, forming a jet effect. The process can be accompanied by loud sounds and visible jets of gas, giving it an explosion-like sensation. This phenomenon usually occurs near the mouth or anus of humpback whale carcasses. Because these regions are relatively thin and easily expandable, gases can find their way out relatively easily. When the gas is released, the humpback carcass may be temporarily decompressed, although gas production will still continue until the putrefaction process is complete. It should be noted that this gas release process is usually natural and does not require external intervention. Scientists and researchers may spot the phenomenon on beaches, where when a humpback whale carcass is washed ashore by waves, its internal gases may suddenly be released to dramatic effect. As impressive as this phenomenon might be, it's relatively rare in a whale's natural life cycle and only occurs when it's dead and afloat. All in all, whales don't really explode. While the outgassing phenomenon of a whale carcass may produce sounds and jet effects that give the illusion of an explosion, this is only due to the natural process of internal gas buildup and release. The decay process of whale carcasses is a complex biochemical process. When a whale dies, putrefaction bacteria begin to break down its tissues, digesting organic matter such as proteins and fats. During this process, one of the metabolites produced by the bacteria is gases, mainly methane and carbon dioxide. The gas buildup inside a whale carcass is due to a combination of several factors. First of all, the body structure of the whale is relatively strong and not easy to breathe, so the internal gas cannot be easily discharged. Second, a whale's digestive system is relatively bulky, providing plenty of room for gases. In addition, environmental conditions, such as water temperature and salinity, may also affect gas production and accumulation. When the internal gas builds up to a certain level, they will look for the exhaust channel. In openings such as the mouth and anus of a whale carcass, gases can accumulate and release with relative ease. However, these open channels are often not large enough to contain and release all of the accumulated gas. When the internal gas pressure exceeds the capacity of the channels, they are released suddenly, creating jets and sound effects. Remarkably, this outgassing did not lead to complete disintegration or fragmentation of the whale. While the release of internal gas may have put pressure on the structure of the carcass, it is usually not strong enough to cause the whale to explode or rupture. On the contrary, this release process will only temporarily relieve the internal pressure, while the corruption process will still continue. For scientists and researchers, the phenomenon of gas release from whale carcasses presents a valuable study opportunity. So, what exactly are the effects of whale carcass decay? Whale carcass decay is a complex and ongoing process with widespread impacts on the environment, ecosystems, and human societies. The following is a detailed description of the likely effects of decay on a whale carcass. First, whale carcass decay has direct and indirect impacts on marine ecosystems. When a whale dies, its carcass begins to decompose. During this process, large amounts of organic matter begin to decompose, resulting in the release of gases such as ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and methane. These gases have a strong odor and may spread in the surrounding waters, causing immediate disturbance to marine life. Compounds such as ammonia and hydrogen sulfide during decay can lower the pH of water bodies, resulting in an acidic environment that negatively impacts the survival and reproduction of some aquatic organisms. The release of greenhouse gases such as methane may also have an impact on global climate change. Secondly, the decay of whale carcasses will also have an impact on marine food chains and nutrient cycles. Whale carcasses are rich in nutrients, including fat, protein, and carbohydrates. During putrefaction, these organic substances are degraded by bacteria and other microorganisms, breaking them down further into simpler compounds. Known as dead organic matter, these compounds provide a rich source of nutrients and attract a host of saprophytic and scavengers. These organisms can congregate around a whale carcass, forming a makeshift ecosystem known as cetacea. Cetaceans are an important food source for many deep-sea organisms, including benthic animals, worms, shellfish, and crustaceans. Cetaceans provide unique survival opportunities for these organisms, while also contributing to marine biodiversity and ecosystem stability. However, decaying whale carcasses can also have negative impacts on marine ecosystems. The organic matter produced during the algae process consumes large amounts of oxygen. This can lead to a lack of oxygen in the surrounding waters, causing harm to underwater life. An oxygen-deficient environment can lead to suffocation and death of fish and other aquatic organisms, disrupting the ecological balance of the ocean. Organisms that gather in large numbers around cetaceans compete for limited resources, which may lead to overpredation or overpopulation of some species, thereby disturbing the stability of the ecosystem. Whale carcass decay also has an impact on the material cycle of the surrounding marine ecosystem. Organic matter released during decay enters water bodies, increasing the nutrient content of the water, which is known as eutrophication. Eutrophication can lead to excessive growth of algae, forming algal blooms. Algal blooms consume large amounts of oxygen and create dead zones that are hazardous to other organisms. Second, compounds such as ammonia and hydrogen sulfide produced during decay can form toxic substances in water that can negatively affect the health of aquatic organisms. These toxic substances may damage the respiratory system, immune system, and reproductive system of fish, resulting in decreased reproductive ability and population decline. In addition to the impact on marine ecosystems, the decay of whale carcasses may have a series of impacts on human society. The odor and stench released during the decay of whale carcasses can negatively impact coastal communities and the tourism industry. The strong smell emitted by the whale carcass may be carried by the wind to nearby coastal areas, causing discomfort and inconvenience to residents and tourists and affecting their quality of life. In addition, due to the smell and stench, it may reduce the attractiveness of tourists to coastal areas, affecting the development of tourism and economic income. Decaying whale carcasses can also pose public health concerns. Pathogenic microorganisms and bacteria produced during spoilage may pose a threat to human health. People exposed to contaminated beaches and waters may be at risk of exposure to pathogenic microorganisms, leading to infection and the spread of disease. This can include skin infections, respiratory infections, and gastrointestinal infections, among others. In addition, decaying whale carcasses may have implications for the fishing and aquaculture industries. When whale carcasses float on the surface or sink to the bottom of the sea, they can become obstructions to fishing nets, affecting the normal functioning of fisheries. Fishermen may accidentally encounter whale carcasses during fishing, resulting in damage or entanglement of fishing nets, increasing fishing costs and reducing catches. The organic matter released during the decay of the whale carcass may also attract some predatory fish, causing them to migrate near the carcass, reducing fishermen's fishing opportunities. Decaying whale carcasses can also negatively impact nearby marine resources and ecotourism. The organic matter and decaying odor surrounding the whale carcass could affect other organisms in the ocean, including coral reefs, marine meadows, and seafloor biomes. This could lead to the destruction of these ecosystems and loss of biodiversity, which in turn affects the fisheries and ecotourism industries that depend on these resources. In addition, odors and pollution from the decay process can have an impact on nearby beaches and swimming areas, making marine recreational activities less interesting for tourists and residents alike. The problems posed by the decay of whale carcasses are also addressed through comprehensive management measures. For example, a monitoring system should be established to detect whale carcasses in time and track their decay process. This allows early action to reduce the release of gases and harmful substances. Second, norms and guidelines are developed to ensure that whale carcasses are disposed of in accordance with environmental regulations and best practices. This includes choosing an appropriate disposal method such as body recovery, burial, incineration, or composting. In addition, awareness of environmental protection and sustainable use will be promoted by raising awareness of the impact of decay on whale carcasses. To sum up, the impact of the gas released by the decay of whale carcasses is multifaceted, involving many aspects such as marine ecosystems, biodiversity, nutrient cycle, fisheries, and human society. The odor, toxic substances, and nutrients released by the decay of whale carcasses will have direct and indirect impacts on the surrounding ecosystem and human activities. This is the end of this program. What do you think about it? Please leave a message to discuss with everyone. Hey, if you like our channel, please subscribe us. Haha, remember to like it.